All right, welcome back. And on the low points list, we're up to Nashville. Nashville's an interesting story, which is why I have this hat on and this jersey. Now, this hat is for the Winter Classic jersey. This would have been a better logo on the Winter Classic jersey, though. Anyways, and I thought it was an odd enough hat to say, all right, I'm going to wear that during the downbeats for the Nashville Predators with this beautiful, mesmerizing. And you know what's nice is that while I have this logo on the board, and I have the original logo as well, which had silver accents to it, on the way I also have a decal that I'm going to turn into. Yeah, I say decal. I'm going to turn it into a magnet, and it has this logo on it. And as soon as I saw it, I went, okay, I need that. And Yvonne was like, of course you do. I was like, I need, you don't understand. It needs to be a magnet. I need to, when I talk about the ugly history of things or I talk about an ugly incident in a game, it'd be nice to have ugly logos to throw on the board. So she didn't agree with me. She just kind of did the whole, I know you do. So the downbeat for Nashville wasn't on the ice. The downbeat for Nashville was Jim Balsillie saying, hey, so I own Blackberry. I'm going to move this team to Hamilton. Now, it's not the only time he tried to move a team to Hamilton. And luckily for fans in Nashville, he wasn't exactly secretive about it. He didn't exactly hide what his plan was. He hid it very, very poorly. Like, well, I'm going to buy the team, and I don't know, I'm just unrelated. I'm selling season ticket packages in Hamilton. Because why not? Now, whether or not a team would have been able to move to Hamilton's a whole other thing. But the NHL made it pretty clear pretty early that they didn't have any interest in seeing the Nashville Predators get moved. And yet at the time, I heard Nashville won't support a team. Nashville's not a strong hockey market. This is a disaster. The NHL needs to get out of the South. This is just another sign that Gary Bettman doesn't know what he's doing. That's all kind of calmed down since then. But 2007, June of 2007, it looked like it was realistic this team could move. And there was a great uprising from the fans in Nashville to keep the team there, to make sure the team didn't move, and to find an owner that would keep the team there. And now you don't hear about it. You don't really hear about Nashville being in any kind of trouble. You still hear it with Florida. You still hear it with Arizona. Get them good ownership. Get them a direction and some sort of really strong management and sustained success like Nashville's had over, I'll say, the last decade. And I think you'd see a bit of a different narrative there as well. Now, most losses all time, that's Pekka Rinne, 201. Why? Because he's played more games than every other goaltender. Now, they've only had 17 goaltenders in their history. They've been very stable in net. Now, with lost asset, honestly, David Poile doesn't make a lot of bad deals. You can name a lot of times he's ripped other guys off. So with lost asset, I went with Shea Weber. I understand they were trading his contract. But the Weber for PK Subban trade, you know, they did have the 2017 run, and I get that, but it still feels like Weber's a lost asset. So you can blame that on the Flyers. I believe that was Paul Holmgren that signed him to that 13-year deal. But regardless, it still feels like that's a lost asset. And then a draft pick they traded, a late first rounder that became Travis Konechny in Philadelphia. And that was to reacquire Cody Franzen. So, you know, that's why trading first round draft picks is always a dangerous game. No matter where that draft pick lies, it's dangerous. And yes, I'm saying that as a Canuck fan, well aware they're going to lose their first rounder this year, and kind of holding my breath it's not going to become a star player. Short-term coach. Well, they've only had 3. This is a franchise that does not fire coaches regularly or willy-nilly. So John Hines is their current coach, shortest term, 16-11-1 overall. And it sounds like he's likely sticking around through next year. So John Hines is a short-term coach, not interim of any sort. And John Hines could end up outlasting Peter Laviolette overall. But again, we're a long ways out from that, right? Now, not in the Hall of Fame. Again, this has to be a player who's retired, who is tops of their points list among those who aren't retired, and goaltenders who are retired, who are leading on the all-time wins list. And David Legwand is the all-time leader in points for the Nashville Predators. Yes, even still. And Thomas Vokoun is the highest on the wins list, who's retired, that's not in the Hall of Fame. I can't argue the Hall of Fame for either of those players. I can't. I can't argue the Hall of Fame for either of them. And I'm wondering if who would be the first. Does Rinne get in there? That's a question I get here and there, and I don't really know that Rinne has a resume that's worthy of necessarily being in the Hall of Fame. Now, their longest drought without the playoffs, well, that was at the start of their existence from 1999 to 2003. It was 5 years. 5 seasons they went without playoffs in the beginning. They haven't gone that long without playoffs since then. And a lot of that has to do with the fact Barry Trotz and David Poile worked well together, and Barry Trotz could get the most out of the team. So they did have those 5 seasons without playoffs, but they were competitive every year, and they won games they probably shouldn't have because Barry Trotz knew how to get the most out of the Nashville Predators. A team that didn't have a big star player. And, year one, 98-99, they finished with a record of 28-47-7, 63 points. Keep in mind, when Nashville comes in, they are not the first expansion team. You have San Jose, then you have Ottawa and Tampa, then you have Florida and Anaheim come in. So at this point, the NHL's running on fumes when it comes to expansion, and yet somehow they draft a roster and put together a roster for that first year that wins 28 games. So pretty strong first year. Their 11th season was 2009-2010. They were 47-29-6 that year, 100 points. Well-run team. And while they did their best in 2007 to, bringing in Forsberg and trying their best to get somewhere in the playoffs, and then of course the Balsillie potentially buying the team thing came up. Rough time for Nashville fans, but they still, 2009, 2010, 100 points, not a bad year. Their lowest points percentage against any one team, Detroit. Against Detroit, they have a winning record of .434. So their winning percentage of .434. Goals for per game, their lowest is against Vegas, 2.11. Well, that's a small sample size. So next lowest is Philadelphia, 2.32 goals per game against Philadelphia. They've allowed the most goals per game against Detroit, 3.15 goals against the Detroit Red Wings. Lowest points per game for anybody who's played 100 games or more for Nashville. Cale Hulse, .080. Yannick Weber, .108. I'm kind of surprised to see Yannick Weber that low. I don't know. It feels like he's done well in Nashville, but I know he's not a scorer. Greg Zanin, .113. Darcy Hordichuk, tough player, .116. And Greg DeVries, .130. Again, kind of a surprise to see DeVries on his lowest scoring. But again, this is a team with about 20 years of history, and so we're going to see some familiar names and probably see better scoring overall than we've seen on some of these teams that have had on the board. Lowest save percentage, minimum of 50 games played. And this is where I have to mention again, they've only had 17 goaltenders in their entire time in the NHL. So number of goalies who've played 50 games is low. So seeing Mike Dunham as the lowest save percentage at .910 tells you their goaltending's been pretty good throughout. Mike Dunham was the guy their first year, and then he ran into some injury problems, and at some point there'll be a video on Mike Dunham, promise. But that was a goaltender that they had with him at the beginning, and it just ended up not working out. Chris Mason, .910, so Mace with a .910 save percentage as well. Dan Ellis, .912 save percentage, and Thomas Vokoun, .913, so .913 save percentage for Vokoun, who is the highest wins total behind Pekka Rinne. So Rinne, of course, the winningest goaltender, no surprise there, and Saros is the heir apparent to the starting job. Now, goalie with the best name, I went with Marek Mazanec, and Mazanec. The funny thing is, John Shorthouse, during the time that he was the backup goaltender, not John Shorthouse, but Marek was the backup goaltender, not Jeff Marek either, Marek Mazanec, which was what I always called him, but yeah, John Shorthouse was trying to get the name down, and he kept hearing different ways to pronounce it, so it's fine. I'll say Mazanec, or Mazanec. I'll go with Mazanec. Doesn't matter. It's a great name, is what I'm trying to say. It's a great name. And, of course, Pekka Rinne needs to be on there as well. UC Saros is kind of a fun name. Basically, if they're from Finland, they have a fun name. That's kind of the rule. Finnish players have fun names, and that's kind of a important thing to mention. Now, if you're going to talk about lows, it is hard not to mention that in 2017 in the finals against Pittsburgh, there was a little bit of controversy in that Stanley Cup final. And if you're a Nashville fan and you're thinking, boy, I wonder what would have happened if not for that, you're not alone. How penalties and goals were called or not called in that series, I had some questions myself at the time. And so I could understand if a Nashville fan would look at that and say, you know, that was kind of a low point for us. And I can't disagree. But Nashville, they've had a pretty good run. They do need a Stanley Cup win, of course, as any team does in their history. Any team that doesn't have a Stanley Cup victory and says, well, we don't really care, they're lying to you. And Nashville, of the teams that have never won the Stanley Cup, I like Nashville's chances. I put them up with Winnipeg as the most likely to be that next first Stanley Cup winner. So maybe it's just a Central Division thing. I don't know. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. And again, anytime I get a chance to wear this, I'll wear it. I don't wear it out in public. I don't wear it anywhere where I might get a stain on it. Although if you're gonna eat mustard, this is the jersey to wear when you're eating mustard because it won't show. But hey, there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing right through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.